Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another episode of the Ultimate Track Guide series. We are here today at Misano and something a bit special because I don't really drive the Bentley that much, but I've recently got into it. One of my friends has been driving it quite a lot and helping him set the car up, and today we're actually in the Bentley around Misano. It's one of the quickest cars here. We're down in the 132s for a hot lap, even in relatively warm conditions, and it just rides the curbs brilliantly. So this will be a representation of how far you can push the limits on this track, which is really what's going to gain you some of that time that we'll cover. If you're not subbed to the channel already, then make sure you do so. Hit that bell icon as well. We've got a load more track guides in GT4 and GT3 to do. We're going to be doing some RST work. There's all sorts of things upcoming, so make sure you hit that button, and also join the Discord if you're not already in there. The link will be in the description below. All sorts of people on different levels of their journey, all learning together, which is really great to see. Let's dive in. So, coming across the start-finish line, then we're going to move slowly over to the left-hand side of the track, and immediately we're faced with a great brake marker, this 50-metre board. It's slightly before, so it's in between the two markers, and you can see how far over to the left-hand side of the track we actually are. Remember, we're in the Bentley, we're sitting on the right-hand side of the car, not the left, so if you were on the other side of the car, you'd almost be over towards that 50-metre board, as long as you've got some tyre on the curbing. You can cut this a little bit more than I do, so in a lot of cars these bumps are going to unsettle it, but you can get away with it. In the McLaren, for example, the Bentley, you just glide over them, but you can cut this a little bit more. There's two ways to take this corner, these first two corners, really. Fast through the first and slower through the second. I like to be slower through the first and a bit faster through the second, so you can see we're sort of in the middle of the track here. We're not over to the left hand side, which is how a lot of people take this corner. And again, you can cut these curbs quite a lot as long as your car can handle them. So in the McLaren, I probably don't. In this, I did, because it glides over them and it's absolutely fine. One thing that people really struggle with on this track is cutting this right-hander. T3, I think is actually T4 for some reason. You can really cut it. It saves you from basically going around the outside of it and hanging on for dear life when you get to the other end. And a lot of people end up overturning here and scrubbing, getting understeer, excess tyre wear, all that sort of thing. It's actually quite an easy corner when you cut it by that much. We're looking for the end of the curbing on the left-hand side as our braking point then. It's not the 50-metre board, so end of the curbing, braking nice and straight, and then we're going to come off the brakes really well, okay? So we need to hold some of the braking into this right-hander. We need to get into the groove of the curbing on the inside, because you almost aim to hook your inside right tyre into the curbing of the inside of the red and white curbing. You can see we're still holding on to that brake a little bit, and then that's going to sort of shove you round. It's going to hook you round to the right hand side of the corner, and immediately back over. You can see I'm going to pause it here. We're on sort of 3/4 power. We've short shifted into second gear, and then we're going to try to hug the right hand side of the track as much as we can. The time gained in this first section is coming out of the next corner. It's not how quickly you take these two corners. It's all about the exit onto what is the first sort of back straight. You can see we're all the way over to the right hand side of the track, and we've got this curbing on the right, which is sort of our indicator to be like, right, we need to start turning now. And it's a good indicator, it's a good sort of reference point, because if you start turning there and you're nice and smooth with your turning, it's usually about right to how much you can cut the track, which is an awful lot. We'll pause it here on the inside again. Even sitting on the right hand side of the car, you can see how much we're over this curbing. You really can take the mickey here, right? It's one of the most difficult things is to time the turn in this corner, so hopefully using that curbing to sort of show you will be all right. You can see we're basically on the grass here, which really I don't like. I really like Misano as a whole, but I really don't like the fact that you can abuse these track limits like that. And on the outside, again, you can actually clip those little sausage curbs if you want, but I wouldn't advise it because it's going to unsettle your run down this first back straight. It's just that you've got the opportunity to do so. But if you cut it properly, you shouldn't need to, So let's have another look at that first sector in full speed. So we're going to be gliding over to the left-hand side of the track, braking on the red tarmac, just in between the two boards. You can cut this a little bit more, taking okay speed, just scrubbing off a little bit. Now this is all about getting smoothly on the power, making sure we turn in early enough to cut this right-hander. Then it's all about just gliding round, getting our left wheel on that curbing, braking in a straight line, holding the brakes into the corner. It's all about how we exit this section rather than how much speed we take through it. So we're immediately on the power, short shifting a little bit into third gear to get that rotation, and away we are down the first little back straight. Let's look at it from above then, because it shows you how much you can actually cut the track here. So you can go way more of a cut than I did on that first corner. You can see you're quite a way over the curbing, and then this one you can really abuse, almost inside the curbing on the grass. You can go wider there, but you shouldn't need to. And this is all about getting that tyre hooked in that curb to get that rotation. You're on the power quite a lot. It's not full power until you get to that point where you're short shifting through the gears if you need to avoid coming off the power and losing that momentum. Now we're immediately into this sort of middle section. You're all the way over to the right hand side. Remember, we're sitting on the right hand side of the car as well, so you can go a bit further over this curve. And we're looking for this 100-meter board, or the white line is what I tend to look at here. Just I find it a bit more, it's easier in my vision. It's sort of where I'm looking already. So we're just going to brake slightly before, or it feels like it's on the white line. I'm going to try and cut this as much as we can, okay? So this is all about getting on the power early and smoothly. You can see we're holding the brake into this corner to try and get that rotation, keep the weight on the nose of the car. And as soon as we're rotated, we're going to get on that power nice and smoothly. You can see we were sort of 50-60% there, and then we built up to 100% really nicely but quickly, and there's a lot of runoff. There's a bit more room here to run off, so it's all about getting that power down and then straightening the steering. Similar story for this one. I know everyone struggles with this corner, so we'll spend a bit of time. Right, you've got this sign on the right hand side as a bit of a braking point. There's also this sort of dark patch in the road. It's quite difficult to see actually, but once you spot it for the first time, then it's a good reference point, because the track goes a little bit darker when it's rubbered in, and that's your point to brake, okay? And we're going to be braking in as straight a line as possible. Remember, the corner is not this first sort of little kink that you can see on the screen in a minute. It's all the time is gained, again, by coming out of the corner effectively. So we're going to go quite wide on the entry to this corner, and we're going to cut, still holding that brake, still trailing that brake in to keep that turn in, keep that rotation happening while we're on the brakes. But we're going to cut back quite aggressively, and as soon as you feel that nose bite and you cut back, we're on to full power. And this is how early in the corner you need to be on full power. And again, it's straightening that steering up, using all of the road on the exit. You can see I'm right over the curbing, right over the green tarmac. There's a lot more room to negotiate around this corner than a lot of people realise, okay? It's really key. You need to abuse those track limits to get the time around Misano. Let's look at it again then, braking on that white line, trying to cut it a little bit. We run slightly too wide. I would have preferred to cut it just a half foot or so, using that nice exit speed. This is a difficult one then, braking in as straight a line as we can to get that braking performance, and as soon as we need to turn, we're coming off that brake and on the power, trying to minimise that time between coming off the brake and putting down that full power. That's the aim of that corner, okay? So have a look at it from above to really see how much you can abuse those track limits. You can see we're right over to the right hand side of the track here. You can cut it a little bit more than that. The exit is where really the time's gained, okay? So just feel free to let the car run a little bit wider than you think you should. Braking in as straight as line as you can. So this is the sort of angle that we want to be getting here. And you see that sign is the reference point on the right-hand side. It's difficult to see, but once you get it in your peripheral vision, it's quite a nice point, as well as the road getting a little bit darker in front of you. And we want to try and treat this like we're coming out of the next corner, okay? So this is the angle of braking that we want. So we're trying to apex as late as possible. You can see the road sort of lends itself to, almost looks like the corner is flat on the inside coming out of the corner. So we need to make use of that, right? Trailing that brake in, turning in, so we try and get this bit as straight as possible, okay? All the time is in this area, and this is an overtaking point. If you can get on the inside of someone up here into the next section, then you're really going to cause them some difficulties, because this is a tough corner. Okay, tough corner to be on the outside of anyway. You can see we don't need to go in the apex on the right there. We're braking quite wide. There's no reason to stay on the inside here, right? So you can go even wider on this if you want. I wouldn't advise going on the curb because it unsettles the car. Got this little white line on the left-hand side as well, which is a nice indicator of when to turn in if you're looking for something. I tend to be looking to the inside here. You guys know I don't like looking on the outside. It just doesn't work with me. And immediately we're coming off that brake. It's quite a hard brake, down 2 gears, roughly 100 miles an hour on this apex. You can see how much, again, you can cut it straight back on that power to get the back end rotated. And again, Lovely braking point. If you take it properly, if you cut it and then come wide by carrying enough speed, then you'll have this lovely white line in front of you as the braking point, which is perfect. And we're going to sort of brake coming off the curb and slowly gliding into the inside of this corner. Similar to the first section, turn 4, where you're hanging that brake, you're trailing that brake into the corner, and you're trying to get that inside right tyre hooked in between the red and white curbing, okay? So it will glide you round, it will pull the back end of the car around, which is really nice. So we're going to stamp on the throttle pretty hard here. So you can see how early we're already up to sort of 50% throttle here. That's all to get the back end of the car rotated, and then we're going to straighten our steering up as quickly as possible, let the diff carry the car round. Then we're going to get that exit nice and straight, pull over to the right hand side of the track, and then this is flat. I have a little bit of a lift, but you can cut it quite a lot. And I'm immediately faced with this last corner, which is, I think, an underrated, difficult corner, okay? So we almost need to come to the left and then back towards the right-hand side of the track here, because we need to be on that curbing when we're braking and turning into the final corner to maximise our entry speed available. Braking down a gear just to get that nose turned in. You can see I actually flick back up to third here, and we're immediately on that 70-80% power, stamping on the throttle to get the back end rotated. You can see how much you can cut it, and then again how much room you've got on the exit. Any more than this and you will get a penalty, okay? But you can bump a little bit over those curbs, just teetering on the edge of them, and away you are for the lap. Let's look at that final section again in real time. So you don't need to go anywhere near this inside here. Stay on the left hand side of the track, braking hard. As soon as you start turning, you're off the brakes and stamp on the throttle again to get the back end rotated. Hook your inside tyre on the curb then, nice and early on the power, fighting with a little bit of oversteer on the exit. But as soon as you do that, you conquer that and get your steering straight, you'll be fine. A little bit earlier than you think on the brake here, cutting it nicely on the inside and back on the power nicely. Again, use the diff of the car to rotate the back end. Don't be trying to fight some understeer around there. I urge you to try and get some oversteer going through that final corner, okay? Much easier to deal with through there. You'll carry a lot more speed. Here we are then, so we don't need to go anywhere near this inside. There's just no point. Just stay on the left-hand side of the track. There's that white line as a turn-in point. You can see how much we're cutting it. We're immediately back on the power at this time, and we're going to gain another 10, 11 miles an hour of momentum as we come into the next white line, which is our braking point. Really, really key to brake in a straight line, but slightly gliding towards the inside here. And it's that late apex point, which is really key, getting the back end of the car rotated. This one's all about timing, turning in at the right point. You can cut it a little bit more than I did there. You can really, really abuse the track limits. And again, this one all about getting that apex rotation. You can see this is just about as wide as you want to be. I'm just at the start of those sausage curbs, and that's pretty much the key to Misano, guys. Let's look at the lap fully from on board in real time then. So in between the two markers, you cut this a little bit more than I can. Good speed in the middle of the track, braking in a straight line, then immediately off the brake, trying to get a nice straight exit, clipping the right hand side curb, or really cutting the right hand side curb. In fact, left hand side on this curbing on the left, getting your inside tyre hooked in between the curb and the road there, and it's all about staying to the right hand side, keeping that throttle on and getting the nice timing on that turning point for the left hand side. We get a great exit onto the first back straight, and we're looking immediately towards our point of braking, which is the white line, the 100-meter board. I'm going to start talking about vision a bit more on this channel, because as soon as you're around this one, you're looking for that sign on the right hand side. It's not the first sign, it's the second sign. Get it in your peripheral vision. Now we hit the brakes. Trying to lay apex, riding that brake as long as we can, trailing it through the corner and getting on that full throttle early, because we know there's a lot of room on the outside that we can abuse going into this second straight. Thinking to ourselves, right, we need to stay slightly on the left-hand side of the track here. We need to get a really smooth turn in, and this next right-hander carry a lot of speed. It's all about momentum through here, nice and smooth. Don't need to be on the power while you're turning. And again, trying to get that inside tyre hooked on the curb, immediately on the power, trying to shorten that time between braking and acceleration. Cut this as much as you can. If you need a little bit of a feather lift, then do so. Immediately left, right, and then straight onto the curbing on the inside. Aim to cut that as much as possible. It's all about getting rotation, and away we are for a lap. 93-ish seconds goes pretty quick around Misano, right? There's not too much time to rest, even with those big long straights. It doesn't seem like they're there. Again, once more from above, you can see how much we're cutting this. Okay, guys, I can't emphasize this enough. It's all about abusing the track limits. You need to get out of your mind that you need to drive round the corners. On Misano, it's all about how you drive through them. Staying on the right hand side, there's that turning point at the beginning of that curb, and you can really abuse the inside there, which I think a lot of people forget. A lot of people try to drive round the outside of that corner a lot. They think, oh yeah, I can cut that a little bit, but actually you can really abuse it. On the brakes, trailing off nicely as you turn in here. Again, it's one of those corners, there's a lot of exit room that you can use and a lot of people don't use. Same thing here, get that sign in your peripheral vision. Braking towards the outside, trying to flat line and get as straight an exit as you can. Really early on the power. Really quickly to full power there, guys. It's that initial rotation. And then if there is a slide, it's catching that slide with straightening your steering up nicely but quickly. So smoothly but quickly. And then you'll get that great run down the straight. Keeping the momentum through here, then it's not about trying to go as fast as you can. It's about building momentum, keeping momentum, and again, hooking that inside tyre on the curb here to whip the back end of the car round immediately over to the right-hand side. You don't have to go all the way over to the right. You can stay roughly in the middle there, but you've got to have great timing on the turn-in point. And again, the last one's all about rotation, all about trying to get that car turned. Guys, if you're not subbed, I don't know why yet, hit that bell icon as well, because we've got a few more track guides to do. We've got loads of tuning stuff that's upcoming, loads of how to drive type thing guides as well. So get yourself in the Discord, sub to the channel. I'll see you on the next one. This has been the Ultimate Track Guide series at Misano in the Bentley. Hope you enjoyed it. See you on the next one.